Good morning. Hello again. It seems like I got into Zen with a Smile Part 2 without much of a break in between after all. But we'll see how it develops. I'm still looking for changing a few things in my presentation as far as what I have available to me here in my meditation / studio, multi-purpose room. The microphone is still needs improvement. Sound, lighting, of course. You notice that I'm sitting in the shadows. But I have to say that I've gotten quite used to this image. It's come to me over a period of time, as things do, and how things just simply seem to work for me, how things proceed for me. I, as I've said, offer a disclaimer because I can't pretend to speak for anybody else. All I can do is speak for myself. And hopefully that's in the minutest bit of helpful. But it's come to me over quite some time actually that the Buddhas of today and the Buddhas of tomorrow won't be cloistered into a monastic style of life necessarily, although this paradigm will suit some still, but it's mostly an acronym of the past, as it's come to my understanding that it'll be such a lonely pursuit. Of course, the nature of the search won't change. Self-inquiry, rigorous examination, elimination of what's not so to get to the kernel of what's so. I can't really foresee this changing much, and by its nature, it is a lonely, or it can be a lonely pursuit. And again, we might deal with the difference between being alone and lonely. I'm alone a lot of the time, as my better half spends time house sitting in Taipei, where she quite honestly, prefers over this East Coast where I am of Hualien. She's a city girl after all, and I'm a country boy after all. When all is said and done, I venture into the city with trepidation and strive to get in and out as quickly as I can. As it is, I only venture up there about every 3 months, and that's to see my dentist, get my teeth cleaned. Of course, I have dentists here, but my dentist in Taipei has really taken care of me and watches out for the health of my teeth. But this difference between alone and lonely is huge. It's a pursuit, spiritual investigation necessarily has to be alone because we are seeking that information that's within. But one never has to be lonely in this world. But the pursuit, the pairing, yin and yang is what I've called today's episode / chapter / sharing the feminine energy and the masculine energy. Best captured, of course, by what they call Tai Chi in Chinese. Tai Chi is not, in this case, not the martial arts, that beautiful, flowing, gentle, in tune, physical training to harness your chi or your inner energy. Here, Tai Chi means yin and yang, the uniting and the very well known by now circle with the half dark and half white, with the dot of the dark in the white and a dot of the light in the dark. White and black, it's usually pictured. And this serves to encapsulate what a human being is. That there's the feminine energies and the masculine energies within both sexes. Men and women share this balance of energy. Really, really insightful of the Chinese to see that to be in true harmony was about balancing these two energy. The receptive yin and the reactive yang. Just as we breathe in and we breathe out, both of these activities are essential, and it wouldn't be breathing without the inhalation and the consequential exhalation. Just as night and day are intertwined, just as evening and dusk. My two favorite times of the day, by the way, maybe it's the mixing of the energies that I enjoy, but it's usually the peace, the stillness, the light of dawn and dusk is incredible, as all photographers know. The changing of light from vertical down to horizontal. Horizontal lighting, after all, makes the most startling photographs. Startling in the gentleness. We all look better. Everything looks better in the horizontal lighting of dusk and dawn instead of the harsh vertical lighting of noon, a time which I've grown quite accustomed to, the Taiwan habit of napping at noon. I'm horizontal, for the light is vertical. Good place to be for me. And I'm quite fortunate to be in the stage of my life where napping is not only enjoyable, but it's almost mandatory. The blessings of the passage of time, of the aging process, is enjoying a good nap. So again, at dusk and dawn, in this time where it's easier to find peace and quiet, here people are quite regular about their activities. Dawn finds only old people up. Generally, people start working here a little later than I'm accustomed to in Hawaii. It's around 9, 10, or 11 that people start working. But they are seem to be more nocturnal people, so that work doesn't end till 6, 7, or 8 in the evening. But because of people's habits, it's conducive to me, to my enjoyment of peace and quiet at dawn and dusk. Perfect times for meditation, by the way. Not only because of the quiet enhances meditative pursuits, there's a gentleness. Maybe it's easier to hear the song of the universe at dawn and dusk. But most likely that song is always there. It may be that I personally listen harder. I focus on listening to the sound of the universe. And recently I've been pursuing studies of the universe, looking into multiverse, the theory of other dimensions, looking at the clusters, what we call super massive galaxies, and trying to spend time watching those fantastic YouTube videos of both the expanding. I just watched something yesterday where the universe is expanding at a speed faster than light, which I can't quite understand, because I thought that nothing could go faster than the speed of light. But apparently the universe is expanding at a rate faster than light, which means that there's elements of the universe that we'll never see here on Earth, because the light from these stars and suns and clusters can't reach Earth, because the expansion is faster than the light can reach us. So consequently, it'll never reach us. And just this contemplation about distance, about how far, about how truly small we are in our little nondescript part of our galaxy, the Milky Way. Albert Einstein again talked about gravitational waves and how gravity acts just like sound waves, or just like light waves, or just like waves that we see in our oceans. And the consequence of waves, apparently, electromagnetic waves is another example I was trying to come up with as I was sort of stumbling there. Electromagnetic waves. And there's an association with sound. Apparently, waves make sound. Sound waves, after all. And there's sounds that are beyond our auditory abilities. But just as I mentioned to you that my peripheral vision has improved, gotten wider, so too has my auditory abilities. I hear sounds that I couldn't hear before, both on the lower scale and the upper scale. So, this is part of growth. But they talk about gravitational waves. That old familiar gravity, which seems to be a constant. And galaxies, these superclusters, which there's literally billions in just our observable universe. And even with our best equipment, our best telescopes, Hubble, and as we're adding to our abilities, the visible universe to us is still estimated to be only 6% of what's out there. And I even think that's too optimistic, because if you believe that it's as it apparently is, that it's infinity, well, it's pretty hard to put a measurement on infinity. It's the nature of infinity to not be calibrated, quantified, qualified, measured. It's counterintuitive to try to measure. How far is forever? Yeah. But to come back to Yin and Yang, I've come to know that, as I mentioned, the days of cloistering, the monks among us now, the monks to come, and we might not like the name monks, you might want to call it something else, but it's our shared destiny to be united through our common understanding of who and what we are. But it seems that the nature of the lifestyle of the monks are changing, evolving, And two of my favorite teachers, Adya Shanti and Sadhguru, both have been or are married. I understand that Sadhguru's wife moved on from the physical plane, but Adya Shanti and Multi, I believe is his wife's name, are happily married. I spent 33 years single, and coming on 4 years, I've been married to wife number 2. My first wife, we divorced when I was 33, married at 27, 28, and separated, divorced at 33. But I certainly appreciate and am aware of how important my wife is to me in terms of every aspect: happiness, peace. And just the simple fact that there's someone else to consider before we consider ourselves. Marriage, as those of you, as almost everyone knows, is certainly not a simple task. And there's all kinds of levels of successfulness in this relationship. And of course, there's no one size fits all. In the spirit of our uniqueness, our bonding is by definition unique. And it's the bond. It's the celebrating of the other, which, with full understanding that there is not one or another, that we're all part of the whole. There's no separation, no division between male and female. It's yet another polarity. And it's the best example, thanks to the Yin and Yang symbol from the Chinese culture, is the existence of both energies within a contained space. And the most beautiful thing about containment is that just as the universe expands, our field of containment expands. So the balance that comes from this is invaluable. And it only adds to the spirituality of the individual. There's a grounding. My wife is gifted with the judicial use of words. She's quiet, self-contained. And when she does share words, it's with trimmed down verbiage. They're succinct and to the point. And if I just but be attentive and listen to what she has to share with me, the gifts I receive are boundless. For me personally, my first awakening, my permanent awakening, my abiding awakening, to use Adyashanti's words, the change, the gradual morphing from progressive or non-abiding awareness. I did this as a single man, an unmarried man. And it wasn't till 2 years later that the karma, the Yuen Fen, as Chinese say, God's will, brought my wife within my orbit of acquaintances. And we recognized each other almost immediately. I remember once in a meditation group, she was sitting next to me, and I didn't know her very well at this point. I just looked over and I said to her, I always want you by my side. And these words didn't seem to be mine, in that they didn't originate from my mind. They came from my heart. And as women understandably are suspicious of us males, part of her thought it was a lie on my part. But she sensed my sincerity, and we were married. A little more than 3 months later, and shared the experience, the deja vu, the experience of knowing each other for a long, long time. And it's this bonding that will most effectively serve the generations to come. The teachings, many of our problems seem to be couched, seem to be defined by our marriage as we become adults, which is really a little misleading, but we tend to notice more things when someone's reacting to our actions, someone's responding to our words. So it's been very hard for people to look for guidance from their spiritual teachers who've grown up in a cloistered environment, who've never married. It's a little counterintuitive to ask them for advice or guidance about marital relationships. And this is not the only reason that it's come to me that the spiritual people of the future will be married. And either or both can be looked upon as teachers. They may choose to share this presentation, share their roles as teacher, or one or the other could be the primary teacher. But whatever is the primary teacher, whether it's the husband or the wife, the other one will have the experience of living with an awakened being. It's important to add here that awakening cannot be conveyed by one individual upon another. There's no magic formula. Each develops in their own time. But imagine the unity, imagine the beauty, the sublime beauty of teaching from an awakened pairing of beings. Imagine the comfort in sitting with them, in being with them, in knowing them. So I've always been an optimistic man. I've always looked to the best. And what could be better than having two Buddhas together in a mutual, respective, and appreciative relationship? Not much, as I see it. So I'm sharing with you today that this evolution, as I've come to know and understand this spiritual evolution, this changing of what a Buddha is, it's still the eternal, awakened, progressive being. But now he's sharing it with a partner and all the things that partnership brings. Just means more unity and value.